terrified of surfing. I still haven't bought roller skates, even though I practically have told every friend I know how badly I want to learn. The funny thing is, I already know I'm going to fall. Everyone who's ever learned to skate has fallen. Falling is an unfortunate interruption in learning how to skate. Falling is part of learning how to skate. I haven't even bought the roller skates. For a while, I thought this was simply a fear of failure. Lately, I've started to wonder if it's something deeper. Maybe I'm not afraid of falling. Maybe I'm afraid of being the version of myself who falls. The awkward version, the uncoordinated version, the version who tries too hard, takes up too much space, and still doesn't get it right. The girl who looks nothing like the image she created in her head. Because of course, I have already created an image. I want to be the girl on roller skates with thigh-high socks and 2 braided pigtails. I can see her perfectly. She's playful, confident, effortless, and free. She glides instead of stumbling. In my imagination, I skip directly from wanting to skate to becoming someone who knows how to skate. There is no room in that fantasy for the beginner. The beginner might be part of my shadow. Carl Jung describes the shadow as everything within us that we cannot or do not want to recognize as our own. It is made of the qualities, feelings, impulses, and desires that conflict with the identity we have learned to present to the world. The shadow is not necessarily evil. It is simply what has been rejected. As children, we begin learning which versions of ourselves receive love and which ones create discomfort. We may be praised for being helpful, but criticized for being demanding. Maybe we're celebrated for succeeding, but shamed when we make mistakes. Calmness could keep the peace, so we bury the anger. Independence earns admiration, so neediness becomes humiliating. Slowly, we construct an acceptable self. I'm capable, I'm composed, I'm helpful, I'm emotionally aware, I get things right. Everything that contradicts that identity gets pushed on the ground. I'm jealous, I want attention, I want to be chosen. I'm angry, I want to be impressive. Sometimes I need reassurance. Sometimes I have no idea what I'm doing. These parts do not disappear just because I refuse to identify with them. They become my shadow, continuing to influence my choices from a place I cannot see. My shadow is not only the part of me that might fall on roller skates. It is a part that desperately wants people to watch me once I learn how to glide. It is not only my insecurity, it is my ambition. It is not only the fear that I'm not special, it's a desire to be seen as special. That is much harder to admit. I have spent a lot of my life wanting to be good. A good daughter, a good friend, a compassionate person, someone who understands other people's emotions, someone who is self-aware enough not to hurt anyone, someone useful, thoughtful, and easy to love. Every identity creates its opposite. If I must always be the understanding one, what happens to my anger? If I must always be independent, what happens to the part of me that wants someone to stay? If I must be humble, what happens to the part that wants to succeed publicly? If I must be emotionally evolved, what happens when I'm jealous, reactive, petty, or scared? Those qualities do not fit the person I believe I'm supposed to be. So instead of allowing them to belong to me, I judge them on other people or punish myself whenever they surface. Jung believed that the traits we react most intensely in others can sometimes reveal the parts of ourselves we have disowned. When another person needs it for attention and irritates me, is there a part of me that also longs to be witnessed? When someone's confidence feels like arrogance, have I made my own power unacceptable? When I judge someone for being too much, when did I learn I had to become less? Sometimes the people who trigger us are standing beside a locked door inside of us. I used to think shadow work meant digging through everything ugly about myself. The shadow does not contain only what we consider shameful. It can also contain what Jungian psychology calls the golden shadow. The beauty, creativity, power, sensuality, confidence, and aliveness we were once taught to suppress. Maybe I was not only taught not to fall, I was also taught not to want too much, not to be too loud, too proud, too visible, too certain I have something meaningful to say. This is where my shadow shows up in my creativity. I want to write, speak, create workshops, make videos, and stand in front of rooms filled with people. I want my work to matter. I want to be seen. But the moment I make something visible, another part of me wants to hide. I can call this humility, sometimes it's fear. I can call it detachment, sometimes I'm pretending not to care, because caring would reveal how much I want it. I can call myself patient, sometimes I'm terrified of discovering what happens if I try wholeheartedly and the outcome does not match the fantasy. My desire to be seen and my fear of looking stupid are not opposite. They come from the same place. Both concern how I exist in the eyes of others. One part wants everyone to look, another part is terrified they will. Internal family systems has given me a gentler way to understand these contradictions. Rather than treating my shadow as one dark, shameful self, I can see different parts attempting to protect me. One part creates perfect outcome before I begin. A part says, don't try unless you know you can be good. A part wants praise. A part fears humiliation. A part wants to be held. Another part is embarrassed that I need anyone at all. None of these parts are proof that I'm broken. They develop strategies to help remain safe, lovable, accepted. The perfectionist believes she's protecting me from criticism. The independent one protects me from disappointment. The caretaker tries to secure love by becoming indispensable. The part that hides after posting protects me from the vulnerability of being witnessed. Even the parts I dislike are trying to love me with the tools they have. Shadow work then is not dragging these parts into the light and forcing them to change. It is sitting beside them long enough to understand what they have been protecting. When did being experienced begin to feel unsafe? Whose love did we think we had to earn by getting everything right? What might become possible if you no longer had to hide? Buddhist practice often asks us to observe what arises without grasping or pushing away. Anger is here, jealousy is here, wanting is here, fear is here. Not, I am a jealous person. Not, a spiritual person should never feel this. Instead, this too belongs to the present moment. What we resist does not disappear. Resistance often adds a second layer of suffering. First, the painful emotion, then the shame of believing we should not be experiencing it. Integration allows me to tell the truth without turning every feeling into identity or every impulse into an action. I can acknowledge that I want attention without allowing attention to determine my worth. I can feel jealous without behaving cruelly. I can need other people without abandoning myself to keep them. I can be ambitious without pretending my work matters more than anyone else's. I can be compassionate and angry, independent and longing for connection, confident and deeply uncertain, a healer and a human being who's still healing. Wholeness is not the achievement of becoming only the good parts. It is the capacity to hold the full range of who I am without exiling myself. I keep thinking about those damn roller skates. Buying them would mean more than learning a new hobby. Putting them on would invite me to meet the girl I keep trying not to be. The girl who falls in public. The girl whose body looks awkward. The girl who needs help. The girl who's witnessed before she's impressive. The beginner. Perhaps freedom is not becoming the effortless girl from my imagination. Perhaps freedom is no longer being myself when I fail to be her. My shadow does not need to be defeated. She needs to be allowed into the room. She needs to be angry without becoming dangerous. Needy without becoming unlovable. Ambitious without being ashamed. Visible without being perfect. And experienced without being inferior. She needs to fall and discover that the ground is not rejection. Becoming whole is not about finding a better version of myself. Maybe it is about turning toward every version I have spent my entire life trying not to be and saying, you are allowed to belong to me too.